This week on the Analog Circle podcast, we get a nice amount of info on Amy Hennigs' upcoming Marvel superhero game, and dag, this thing looks incredible. We get confirmation that the PlayStation 5 Pro is real, and we get more in-depth specs about what it is capable of, and it does seem to be a little beastly. Similar to the PlayStation 5 Pro, we also get more confirmation that a new Xbox is also on the way. And we get more updated information on Max Payne Remake. All of these stories can be found here and more in episode 201 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and welcome to the show. Welcome. It is always fantastic to have you guys here, and it is a privilege. Now, as always, if you guys do want to be a part of the upcoming episode of Listener Feedback, and trust me, Crimson Phoenix, my good brother, it is coming. But if you do want to be a part of that episode, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in and let your voice be heard at 443-380-0281. Or you can email the show, and the email address is simply the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. So without further ado, guys, I think it is time to get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news that went down. So let's get things started with a story that I found from Digital Trends. So this week, let's get started actually with NVIDIA. Now, I know NVIDIA doesn't have anything to do with console gaming, but their new tech could have a huge effect on gaming as a whole. So NVIDIA made an AI-driven game demo called Convert Protocol, where you play as a detective trying to track down a particular subject at a high-end hotel. And as a result, you start having conversations with NPCs to get the proper info that you need. But here's where things take a major twist. So in this demo, you use your microphone and voice to ask questions instead of choosing from a list of preset options, kind of similar to Mass Effect, where it was more of a wheel where you would go around and be different options. But no, you will actually be using your voice on top of a microphone to ask these NPCs questions. So the name of the technology is called NVIDIA ACE. It's called NVIDIA ACE, and was presented by Senior Products Manager Seth Snyder, who told the journalists in attendance to ask the AI anything. Now, what the journalists did report was the NPCs would stay on topic, never straying too far away from the topic at hand. But outside of anything being asked outside of the subject of the game, the answers, they would answer, but they wouldn't answer in heavy detail. I mean, just to kind of put it in perspective a little bit. For example, Schneider asked the NPC about its favorite RTX GPU. And it was pretty obvious the AI had no idea what Schneider was talking about, but it could provide an answer that made sense in the context of a question. But not one that was, but not one that was substantially different than an answer you could get with a pre-programmed list of dialogue options. So it did answer, but it kind of seemed like an answer you would get, kind of like it said, something that was already preset for it to answer in that kind of direction, or, kind of answer the question in a specific way that seems like, yeah, that's already kind of That's already pre-baked in for it to answer it that way, which, I mean, is understandable. I mean, you're talking about a detective game, but you're asking the NPC about an RTX, what's your favorite RTX card? Of course, it's going to probably have a bit of a hard time and answer it with a pretty generic answer. But nonetheless, one thing is certain. Just being able to literally ask a NPC anything you want and get, quote, endless dialogue trees everywhere, end of quote, according to the title of the article, is pretty exciting. I'm just thinking about just these RPGs, whether it's The Witcher, Mass Effect, just name your favorite RPG that actually has the wheel, like the dialogue wheel, like Mass Effect, and just picture yourself being able to ask the NPC the questions that you want to know, pertaining to whatever's going on. Like, did you see a person in here with a red shirt? Like, let's say that one of the missions, you get tipped off, they don't have a full description of this particular person you may be looking for, but they tell you the last time we saw him, he was in a red shirt, maybe blue jeans and some cowboy boots or something like that. And you're able to actually go to these different planets and to actually ask these different NPCs, have you seen this particular character with these kind of clothes on? And then they're able to answer, because the way that they had the demo, the way they had described the demo, the journalists, they described it as they were asking this NPC just unbelievable amounts of questions, and it was answering them. Again, when you kind of go outside of the game itself and start asking real questions, of course, you're going to get those baked in answers that are, like I said, pretty generic. But if you're staying on track with what the game, with what the mission is in the game, and you're asking these NPCs these different questions, to have them actually be able to answer you and give you information in more detail, I think that is very, very exciting. I would love to know, what do you guys think about this? Is this something that you would be excited to do? Because I know that a couple of months ago, we had talked about EA. EA was talking about it from a different angle. They were talking about taking your own voice and actually using it in the game, and also trying to have it so you could, I don't think it was necessarily asking the NPCs questions, but they were just talking about taking your voice and recording it and making the main character of the game use your voice. This is something different. Being able to hold a conversation with an NPC, with you having a microphone and being able to talk to them and ask them questions. This is something. Now, I do know that the journalists, they were wondering, they said, well, we don't know how much this would impact gaming, if it would be a good thing, to have it this way, because then the developers would have to bake in the actual right answer, or it may take a long time to get the information that you're looking for, per se. If you're asking 100 different questions, it could possibly hinder your progress in a game. But I'm sure that with time, anything in the early stages, you always need to give it time to get better. I'm sure with time, different developers, they would be able to find ways to make sure that they could kind of implement into the AI, the actual answers that you would need to, the questions that you would need to ask it in order for it to give you the answers that you need. But nonetheless, we are just getting closer and closer to really blurring that line a little bit. I don't know if this is good or bad. I really don't know. But it is kind of exciting to just think and imagine what RPGs would be like if you could literally talk to these NPCs and talk to dozens of them, getting different information from each one being more different than the last, having different kind of personality types. It just interests me. I'm not saying that, I don't know, man. I think it's a good deal. I think it's a good thing for gaming. I would love to know what you guys think. I am for this. I'm pro this, because the last game that I played where I used the microphone and it had anything to do with kind of interacting with the game. And this is back in the day. Some of y'all might remember this. It was called Seaman. Seaman on the Dreamcast, where you had that microphone and you could talk to it and it was supposed to learn different words and, trying to, interact back with you. I thought that was an interesting concept. It was not even remotely, it wasn't bad, but it was bad. It was just a product of its time and the technology that was behind it. So it wasn't as active as they would have had you believe it was, but I thought that the concept was so different and really ahead of the curve, using an actual microphone to interact with the game character and asking it questions and things of that nature. I don't know if you guys even remember Seaman back on the Dreamcast, but it was something. It was a heck of an experience. So to have something like that be taken up to 1,000 today, with today's technology, oh man, I am definitely interested in what the future of this could be and if it would be a possibility, because I know we both know now that this is NVIDIA technology. They are the RTX 3090, 4090, the graphics card people. I'm just wondering, will that technology one day be possible on console? But we will see. But anyway, for the sake of time, let's go ahead and let's move on to the next story. So this next story, I actually got it from WCCF Tech. So last week, Tom Henderson confirmed with his sources that the PlayStation 5 Pro specs are real. Now, some of these include a larger GPU with faster memory, providing 45% improved performance and rasterized rendering, massively improved ray tracing architecture that could deliver 2 to 3 times speed up over the regular PlayStation 5 with peaks of 4 times. So God dog, wait a second. So, man, I tell y'all this all the time. I write this stuff down and I don't see it for a couple of days. And then when I read back over it, it kind of jogs my memory a little bit. But I'm thinking about the ray tracing architecture delivering 2 to 3 times speed up over the regular PlayStation 5 and having peaks of 4 times over what the ray tracing is on the PlayStation 5 right now. That is incredible. Then talking about the faster memory being 45% improved. Excuse me, guys, 45% improved over the PlayStation 5 with this rasterized rendering. God, dog, it's pretty darn impressive. But also it's saying some of the other features are going to be custom machine learning architecture that supports 300 TOPS, or the meaning of the TOPS is trillions of operations per second. God darn, at 8-bit. I don't know what any of this means. I have no idea. But trillions of operations per second, God dog, at 8-bit sounds pretty incredible. I would love to know what it means, but to me it just sounds pretty doggone powerful if I'm being fair. But the feature that stood out the most to me, God dog, was the Spectral Super Resolution Upscaler, which we do have an updated story on from Inside Gaming, which according to their report, the PlayStation 5 Pro's PSSR currently supports 4K resolution and is aiming for 4K 60 frames per second and 8K 30 frames per second. Goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. That's like a pipe dream. 4K 60 frames per second and 8K 30. Goodness gracious. Now, they said the goal Good gosh. Wow. They said the goal for the future is to hit the 4K 120 frames per second and 8K 60 frames per second targets, which are not possible on the upcoming hardware refresh due to its hardware limitations. So I remember, just looking around. Of course, whenever I'm talking about anybody or any group, it's always social media. It's always YouTube. I'm not out here outside taking observations and asking questions. So I always like to put that in perspective. But some people had believed that this new PlayStation 5 Pro was going to be hitting 4K 120 frames per second and the 8K 60 frames per second targets, but seeing this, and I'm just thinking, God, dog, how much would this be if it was hitting those kinds of numbers? But the thing is, looking at it and knowing that is the future, that's the future. So we're talking about the PlayStation 6 being able to hit this 4K 120 frames per second and 8K 60 frames per second target, which is unbelievable. Because I don't even know anybody. I mean, y'all might know some rich people, but I don't know anybody with a 8K TV as it stands right now. So when you're talking about doing this 8K at 30 frames per second on the PlayStation 5 Pro, sounds incredibly impressive. But I don't know anybody that has an 8K TV. It's a great flex to say that you can do that in 8K. But man, oh man, the 4K 60 frames per second, though, oh, that is incredible. And that makes me wonder, now, when you're getting this kind of performance, now hold on, let me hold off on that just for a minute, because I do want to finish this story off real quick. But the other stat, now this was the other thing that had people thinking that it was going to be able to do the 8K 60 frames per second or the 4K 120 frames per second, was when we found out that it was going to have inside of the PlayStation 5 Pro, this joker is going to have 33.5 teraflops inside of this thing. God dog. 33.5 teraflops. When I heard that number, I was talking to AB. Shout out to that good brother. What's going on, AB? Man, when I was talking to that brother and we were going over the specs, I said 33.5 teraflops is madness. It's absolute madness. But the thing is, now this is the thing. When you're talking about 33.5 teraflops in the PlayStation 5 Pro, and knowing that the PlayStation 5 has only 10.28, it makes you say, oh my goodness, that's like 3 times the performance, or at least a little over 2 times the performance of the PlayStation 5. But this is the thing. I kind of got taken back down to planet Earth due to a IGN article where they broke it down that by direct comparison, that will work out to be around 10.28 teraflops versus roughly about 16 to 17 teraflops when it comes down to the PlayStation 5 Pro. So when I heard that, I said, oh, that kind of makes sense. That makes a little bit of sense. It takes it down a little bit, but no doubt the fact remains that is still a big bump. You're talking about an extra 6 to 7 teraflops being added into the new console. So with that being said, the thing that I want to know is, when you're talking about these kind of specs, talking about 8K 30 frames per second, 4K 60 frames per second, we got that. That's for the Pro. That's absolutely fantastic if it really does come out to be that way. That is a heck of a bump. That is something that I would probably buy Now, y'all know me. I've always been anti this mid-gen refresh. It's never been my kind of thing. I always have been in the mindset of you've released the hardware, you stick with that hardware, make it the best that it can be, and max it out before the end of the generation. But I'm going to tell y'all, man, when we get to it, when we get to the story, this one game that I saw today, God, dog, I don't know. Those extra terafloppies might be necessary to actually kind of house the kind of gaming experiences that are coming up. But when you get down to it and you're talking about these kind of specs, does the PC become less of an option for a person that strictly just wants to game? I'm not talking about a person that has aspirations of being a YouTube star or, actually editing videos, editing movies, or anything like that. I'm just talking about strictly a person that wants to game. Nothing more, nothing less. Does that make them buying, or I should say, does that make the PC a little bit harder of a sale for someone? Because we all know that if you were to try to get these kind of specs in a PC, it is no way you're going to spend less than, good grief, at least $1,000. Now, I don't want to be too ignorant to the conversation, but no, I'm not. Because we had did a comparison about how much it would be to have a PC, how much it would be to buy a PC that has the same performance as a PlayStation 5. And it was more. So if you're talking about actually having these kind of specs, does that make having a PC or someone going out to buy a PC a little bit harder of a sale? Because you can, I'm guessing, now this is the thing, I'm guessing that this is going to be, this PlayStation 5 Pro, at first, I thought it was going to be $700. I'm like, with this kind of performance, 45% improved performance in the rendering, having ray tracing be 2 to 3, even up to 4 times better than what it was on the PlayStation 5, you're going to have to pay for that. So I was of the mindset it would be about $700. But when I talked to AB, again, shout out to him, I want to give him his credit. He was like, he doesn't think it's going to go that far. He thinks they'll land somewhere around $650, somewhere around there. Because we do know that at one point in time, the PlayStation 5 digital and the PlayStation 5 physical, they all went up, $500 to $550, and $450 to $500. So they had those $50 increases. So if you were to tell someone that you could get this kind of performance and you would just bump it up to, roughly maybe $150 more than the current console, I gotta be honest, and this is for the hardcore. This is for us. This is for the guys that are really deeply entrenched into the gaming culture and want the best performance that they can get out of every game. I think that that's not a hard sale, especially if you don't mind trading in your PlayStation 5 to put towards the purchase of the PlayStation 5 Pro. I don't think $650 is a bad, that is expensive. Don't get me wrong. $650 is still expensive, but what you get, the kind of performance, if this is really true, then you are really going to see a nice size bump in performance. And it's not going to be a situation like back when the PlayStation 4 Pro had released. It just wasn't, it didn't have a performance. Some people that bought it, they were like, I could have done without it. So yeah, I think this would be I think this will sell well, because this is one thing for sure. If this can make Grand Theft Auto 6 that much better with this experience versus having it on the PlayStation 5, then man, jokers are going to go out in droves to pick this up. But my question to you guys is, how much do you think that this PlayStation 5 Pro is going to retail for? I'm still, even though AB says 650, and I definitely could see it being that, but I'm still teetering, closer to 700. 700, you definitely might be pricing yourself out of the market. So 650 seems to be a little more reasonable, but I would like to know, what do you guys think that this thing is going to retail for? And they were saying that this is supposed to come out, of course, around the holiday season, but we know that it was rumors around also talking about that PlayStation may be having a show sometime in May, which that's coming up very soon if the rumors are true. We didn't get any confirmation from Sony about that. But if it is true and they're having a show in May, I think that if this PlayStation 5 Pro is real, it will definitely be there. And I'm sure they're going to show us a crazy demo of some sorts that is going to show us the difference between what the PlayStation 5 can do and what the PlayStation 5 Pro is able to do. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So this next story, I actually got it from TRG. So let's get into some more PlayStation news, and this is not good. So according to a report from Bloomberg, Sony has paused production on its PS VR2 headset until it clears a backlog of unsold units. So PS VR2 sales have continued to decline each quarter since its launch in February of last year. Now, the report brought up that the fourth quarter sales figures of 2023, they came out to Sony selling roughly, these are the units that they sold in the fourth quarter of 2023. They sold roughly 325,000 units of the PlayStation VR 2, which some may say that's not too bad. That's not bad. But when you compare it to its direct competition, the Meta, that headset sold 1.3 million in the same amount of time. So you are being lapped, 3, 6, 9, almost 3 times over. They're being lapped by the Meta. So because of this, many believe that the PlayStation VR 2 is struggling because of its higher price point at $550. Now, this is what is interesting, because I looked up how much a Meta headset is, and it's actually more than what the PlayStation VR 2 is. Matter of fact, hold on, let's look it up real quick, just so I'm not sitting here giving y'all false information. Let's look it up, and let's see what they say about it. Here we go. How much is a Meta headset? Let's see.
$499.99 USD.
Oh.
According to Metastore, $499.99 USD for 128 gigabytes. $649.99 USD for 512 gigabytes.
Dang, so it's just as expensive as the PlayStation VR 2. So this is really, really interesting. But I think that the thing that actually separates the two is the fact that you need the PlayStation 5 in order to play the PSVR 2. So with that kind of investment, you're talking about almost $1,000. That's pretty expensive. But daggone, the Meta ain't no slouch either. But either way, they seem to be struggling a little bit. So because of them struggling to actually move units, it has been a bit of a question mark of, is a price drop actually going to be coming soon in order to start to sell some of this backlogged PlayStation VR 2 hardware? Is a price cut coming? And to put this in more perspective, just just for the sales numbers. And talking about the decline. 6 weeks after the PSVR 2 launched, it sold 600,000 units. 6 weeks, 600,000 units. And according to analysts, it sold over 1 million units in its first year. And according to more data from roadtovr.com, for every 1 unit of PSVR 2 that is sold, the Meta Quest sells 30 plus units. So for every one, the Meta is selling 30. God, dog. I mean, you're getting lapped 29 times over. So it does make sense that PlayStation would want to put the PSVR 2 on PC to help with some of the sales, to get them a little bit more on track, to kind of start to sell some units. But the thing is, it's that price point, man. And at $550 for the technology that you get, for the things that you get with it, the different features, I know it's worth the money. I know it is, but I also understand that not just PlayStation, but VR in general is still a niche market. So it's not going to appeal to everybody. So you tell someone that they just picked up a PlayStation 5. Right now, I think they're still on sale at $450. No, $450 and $400. I think they're still on sale. I can't say for sure. But you tell someone that on top of that, you got to spend an extra $550 for the VR headset. I mean, that's, like I said, almost $1,000, which could be a bit of a hard sale for someone. But still, man, I don't know. I mean, how much more can you cut the price of the PSVR 2? It's not even, well, it is now. It's a little over a year old now, but at $550, a $50 price cut is not going to help with that. Having it be $500 versus $550, it's not really going to move a lot of people to the unit. I think that they would have to get that price point down to roughly between $300 and $350 to really, really see a real major change in people actually picking up the unit. Because, like I said, one, it's a niche product. And two, that price point, you just got to do something with it. That is why the original PlayStation VR was so successful. Back then when that came out, that was actually the leader when it came to the VR headsets. They were selling amazingly well for the numbers. I mean, of course, again, I'm not saying that it set the world on fire, but when you're just talking about VR headsets and how they were selling, the original PlayStation VR did quite well when you compared it to its competition. But with Meta being out there, and from what I understand, I think Meta is completely wireless, whereas the PSVR 2, you still have that one wire, which is a humongous improvement over the original, but you still have that one wire, and you still need a PlayStation 5 to actually play it. So we'll see what happens with this. We'll see if they actually do get very aggressive with the price cut and really cut it down to a price where, like I said, that $300 to $350 price mark, which would really, really move units, but we'll see what they do, because sometimes PlayStation, maybe not nearly as much as, not PlayStation, but Nintendo, maybe not nearly as much, but they can sometimes be a little bullish as well and not, want to drop their price when they know it probably will work out better for you if you do that. All you got to do is look back at the PlayStation 3 and when that first came out and how it started selling when it first released, and then compare it to when they actually did that price drop. Man, them jokers start flying off the shelf. So I think it could be a very similar situation if they were to do that with the PlayStation VR 2, but only time will tell. Let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So this next story, I got it from Game Rant. So this next story is it's more of a follow-up. So a few episodes ago, we discussed the rumor of an all-white digital Xbox Series X. Well, fast forward to today, and we get a report that a new Xbox console has been certified in South Korea, identified by model number 2089. Now, the newly leaked device has been labeled as an Xbox dev kit. But if you go back to June 11th, 2020, that was the last time Microsoft received an Xbox dev kit certificate, certification in the Far East country. And that was 5 months before the Series X and S released. So with this timeline, we know Sarah Bond, she said that they have new hardware to show off this year. We know Xbox is having a June show. Could it be a case where we see the hardware at the June show and by September it possibly releases? Because I'm just going off of the timeline with the 5 months and all of that stuff. But we've seen, though, realistically, it's more than likely going to release around holiday season, which is so strange to me because back in the 90s, and I'm definitely showing my age. I'm 45, so back in the 90s when a new console released, it used to release around like in September and October. I didn't remember any consoles releasing in November until like Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 era. So, well, I guess we've been in this for quite some time now, but, with it being released in November, it's definitely not a new practice, but it's not strange to me because, again, this has been happening for years, decades now, that we've been getting these consoles in holiday season. But I just wonder what made them stop bringing out the consoles in September and October, in the fall. I guess maybe analytics showed that, they would sell more if they released closer to Christmas, I guess. But, we will see, man. It seems like this is definitely a real thing. I mean, them getting, certified in Korea for this, new Xbox, is very, very interesting. It's not, again, this is not like very amazing information, especially since Sarah Bond, like I told you guys, and we all know this, that they talked about the new hardware would be shown later on this year. They had some announcements that are going to be happening, but just the fact that, over in North Korea, that this thing has actually been certified. Well, South Korea, that it has been certified already. That says a lot. So it looks like that they're going to be gearing up to get this thing to the shelves very soon. I'm really interested in knowing if this is going to be a digital Series X. And especially, I'm more interested in what the price point is going to be. I'm very interested in that because, like I was saying in the last episode, we haven't seen Microsoft drop their price yet. Not yet, of the Series X or the Series S, thus far. They did it during the holiday season, and then we didn't see anything more from them. Seems like PlayStation, and this is another thing, just to kind of backtrack a little bit to PlayStation. This is interesting. Could that price drop be a situation where they're trying to clear out as much old PlayStation 5 hardware as they can to get ready for the PlayStation 5 Pro to actually release, that they're trying to clear as many shelves as possible to make room for this console? And we know that, again, that console is going to be for the hardcore. It's not going to sell nearly as many units as the original PlayStation 5 because of the price point. But I do find it very interesting that they dropped that price kind of semi-aggressively to actually move the units. And it could also go back to Hiroki Totoki just needing to see more money being made from the PlayStation brand. That could always be a situation as well. But nonetheless, hearing about this new Xbox, being certified in South Korea earlier this month, it definitely it definitely leads me to believe that this new Xbox is definitely something that is real, and we will be getting more information on it very, very soon. Let's go ahead and let's get into the next story, which I got from VGC. So in quick news, the upcoming Wonder Woman game, according to a job listing spotted by Tech4 Gamers, the same studio that developed Gotham Knights, which is WB Montreal, and Batman Origins, which Batman Origins, I will say, if you haven't played that, that is backwards compatible on the Xbox One. If you have it, play that game. That game was actually really good. When I look back, and I mean, of course, everybody was comparing it to Arkham Knights, the Arkham series, but they definitely held their own with Batman Origins. That was a good game, and it was a good story as well. But they will be developing the game alongside Monolith Productions. Though the game was announced, this is interesting, though the game was announced back in 2021, not much is known about the game outside of the fact that it will use the Nemesis system, which I'm very excited about that. And it will be a, quote, single player action adventure game set in a dynamic open world, end of quote. And it will not be a live service game. So outside of those factors, we have no idea what is happening with this Wonder Woman game. I think that with WB Montreal actually jumping on board to help with development with Monolith Productions, I think that is a great thing. You guys know that I thought Gotham Knights was excellent. I was a huge fan of it. I thought that the story was good, thought the graphics were excellent, thought the gameplay was very well done. So to know that they're on the team working on this Wonder Woman game, that definitely gets me a lot more excited about this. And just the fact also that they'll be using that Nemesis system. Oh my gosh. It really, really gets me hyped up to just think about the possibilities of running into these different enemies. You'd have scarred them up. You'd have broke a bone or an arm or something like that. And they remember you. They see you out there in the world. Y'all cross paths again. You know how it goes, man, with these enemies and whatnot. They get all dramatic in the game. You did this to me. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that it's some kind of scenario where that happens in the game. I would be so hyped to see that. And just knowing the way that technology is growing inside of gaming, we already talked about the NVIDIA AI ACE situation, which with you being able to talk to these NPCs with a microphone and them answering your questions live on the fly. It's just so much happening in the gaming space, just thinking about these technologies and how great graphics are. Oh my goodness. And AI improvements and all. I'm just very, very interested because when we saw the game at, the Video Game Awards. Yeah, the Game Awards back in 2021, like the article mentioned. I was like, wow, this actually does not look bad. I'm kind of interested in this game. So just knowing that, again, the WB Montreal, they're jumping on to help with this project. This game, it has a lot of promise. This is something I'm really looking forward to. I don't know if we see it this year. Maybe we see it on Xbox's, their stage, or possibly on PlayStation stage. I don't know, but either way, I definitely want to see some more about this game because we're talking about that's been going on 3 years ago. They have to be much further along than what they were 3 years ago. You would at least hope so. And I understand what's going on over there at WB. They're having their set of problems, but I can't imagine that they wouldn't be much further along to the point where we should possibly see something this year. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. And I got this story from GameSpot. So let's shift over into some EA news. So longtime PlayStation boss, I was just talking about PlayStation, but longtime PlayStation boss Connie Booth, she departed Sony back in 2023, but she has now landed over at EA in the role of group manager. And in that position, Booth will oversee EA Motive, Cliffhanger, and BioWare Studios that are working on titles like Iron Man, Mass Effect, Black Panther, and Dragon Age. And just to put a little bit more positivity out there about Miss Connie Booth, EA boss Laura, her name is Millie, I think Miley, told IGN that Booth is, quote, known for having created an incredible developer first culture and supporting creative vision while driving innovation, end of quote. And to that gets me excited, because if you're that kind of boss that wants to put the developer first, that you're about creating culture, you're about supporting that creative vision or driving innovation, that makes me at least have to think that she's not going to have them do something that is outside of their wheelhouse, or that would be possibly, it would be to the detriment of the studio actually doing something very creative. So I love the fact that she's that kind of person, that kind of boss, and that she takes that kind of stance. Now, her track record, this is the thing, because people can say good things about you, but what is your track record? This is her track record. Her track record includes her guiding the development of titles like Spider-Man 1 and 2, The Last of Us, Uncharted, Ratchet and Clank, Ghost of Tsushima, and others. If you look at that list, God dog, man, those are all high-profile games and great ones. Golly. That is a heck of a list, man. The Last of Us, Spider-Man 1 and 2, Uncharted, Ratchet and Clank, and Ghost of Tsushima. Not one bad game on that list that she helped get to the finish line. So this being the case over there at EA, I know they suffered a ton of losses just a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. Having them actually have her at the helm to come in and help with this really gives me a lot of positivity when it comes to that Iron Man game being made by EA Motive, because it already looked like those guys are already on track with that game. Them actually doing so much research, bringing people in that are very familiar with the character himself. And then to have her at the helm of being able to help with the studio making it across the finish line, it really gives me a lot of positivity in my heart bone, that this game, Iron Man, is going to turn out to be something great. So we'll definitely see what happens, though. We'll see what happens with Connie Booth being over there at EA, actually being fired, according to, what's his name? David Jaffe. David Jaffe saying that PlayStation fired her from the job, and she had been there for 30 years. So her, what would you say? I guess her experience is just unmatched. 30 years at one place and you get rid of her. Man, oh man, that's tough. But hopefully with her being over at EA again, this will be a good fit for her. She'll be able to help these teams bring these games that are very anticipated. Or I'll speak for myself. I'm extremely excited about the next Mass Effect and this Iron Man game that is coming up. Definitely can't wait for those. Black Panther as well. I'm really hyped up about that. So just having her there definitely gets me more and more, just a little bit more interested about what's going to happen. Let's go ahead and let's move on into the next story, though. So this next story, I actually got it from Rockstar Intel. So we just got some updated info when it comes to Max Payne, to the Max Payne remake that is being made. So Max Payne 1 and 2 remake will be fully funded. Now, I found this to be extremely interesting. Max Payne 1 and 2 remake will be fully funded by Rockstar Games. I had no idea Rockstar was even involved to that degree, where they will be in charge of the budget. Now, I do understand that Rockstar, they actually own the IP now, so it does make sense. But for them to actually be putting up the bread, that says a lot. Now, Finnish analysts, this is the name of the analyst company, it's called Finnish. Analysts are estimating that the budget for Alan Wake 2, and it's going to correlate, the budget for Alan Wake 2 was 70 million euros, and 50 million of that being spent on development of now, what did I just say? Alan Wake 2, 50 million of that being spent on development and 20 million being used for marketing. Now, euros. What is that equivalent to in US dollars? Let's look that up real quick because I don't know. Let's see. How much is 70 million euros in US currency? Let's see what we got.
70 million euros equals $76,540,800.
That's a lot of cake right there. That's a lot of darn bread right there. That's a bakery. 76 million. So that's how much they spent on Alan Wake 2 between the production, well, I should say the development and the production and the marketing of it. And Remedy did specify the quote development budget for Max Payne Remake would be similar to that of Alan Wake 2. So it looks like the same budget is going to be for this Max Payne 1 and 2 remake that we'll be releasing, which is a hefty budget. That's a very, very good budget. So it's definitely going to be AAA. I mean, I don't think anybody thought it would be anything less, but this definitely solidifies that it is going to be a AAA production. So within the first half of, this is some more information that came out. Within the first half of 2024, they're expecting the game to go into full production. But based on their game production template, we could hear this being the case as early as April of this year. So next month, they could be possibly going into full production. But Remedy's business review covering January and March will be issued on April 29th. So during that meeting, when this does happen, I'm sure if they are going into full production, that will definitely be mentioned during that meeting. Let me see what else. Yeah, so this can take, now this was the other thing. When they were talking about it going into full production, as far as like more details on quote full production, this can take around 2 to 2.5 years, depending on the polish needed and the scale of the game. So in so many words, we're still a couple of years away from us actually getting this game. But nonetheless, it seems like it's on track. They got the budget together, talking about close to 76 million for that. Rockstar will be the ones that will be backing the project, which that is a great thing, because I'm sure when Rockstar's money is involved, what that says to me is somebody over at Rockstar will be keeping tabs on what is happening with this game. And we know that Rockstar are top tier when it comes to this. We know that, the games that they make are always incredibly detailed, very well done. Even Max Payne 3, I know a lot of people didn't play it or think that it was that great because people were expecting something like Grand Theft Auto for Max Payne 3, but that game was spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. The kind of gameplay that we got, the graphics, we got the story, then we got the twists and turns. Oh my gosh. was absolutely incredible. So to know again that Rockstar is going to be fitting that bill close to $100 million, I can only imagine they will make sure that they're keeping complete tabs on what these guys over at Remedy are doing to bring out the absolute best product possible. And the last point is, it's still a little bit of a ways away, 2.5 to 3 years. I'm guessing this game will probably release in maybe 2026 sometime. But I think that the lead up to it actually releasing, we will get some information on this. I mean, maybe not gameplay this year, definitely not. And maybe not even next year, but I know eventually maybe next year, possibly next year we might get some, maybe not. But the fact is, I'm about to wrap this up. I'm getting real long-winded here. The fact is that this game is in production. They got the development costs. They got the, they got their ducks in a row. That's about it. So, anyway, I'm very excited about this though. I'm all tongue-tied and everything. I do this every single episode, but, I'm very excited about this. I can't wait for it. I was a big fan of Max Payne 1, didn't play Max Payne 2, so that'll be a treat for me. Again, with Rockstar being involved and Remedy, who got a pretty good track record. Remedy has been doing their thing lately. Control, I would have liked it a lot more if the map wasn't so confusing. That was the thing that was a little off-putting to me about that game, but the gameplay was great. Graphics were great. Story seemed like it was going to be good. They won an award that year. I think best game of the year. I think they got that. That on top of Alan Wake 2 having the success that it has had thus far, I think that these remakes are indefinitely really, really good hands. But let's go ahead and let's move on into the next story. Now, this isn't actually a story too much. This is just more on a side note. State of Unreal happened today. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. If y'all haven't seen that, it was a feast for the eyes. Certain things happened. Oh, it was a feast. Oh, it was a definite feast of the eyes right there. So check that out, because speaking of Unreal, oh, man, this is the final story. And this story right here, good gosh. Got this story from GameSpot. So, again, speaking of Unreal, we got a first-hand look earlier today at the game. This was at the Game Developers Conference at Marvel 1943, Rise of Hydra, which is set in the middle of World War II and will feature an original story. This is what got me hyped up. It's going to feature an original story from the legend herself, Amy Hennigs. Oh, man. Amy Hennigs is behind this project. Oh, my goodness. So it's Amy Hennigs and her Skydance new media studio focuses. This is what the game is. It focuses on Captain America. They got Black Panther and their allies as they work to liberate Paris from the Axis forces. So you'll also explore occupied Paris as Gabriel Jones, which is a U.S. soldier and member of the Howling Commandos, and Natalie, who is a Wakandan spy embedded in the city. So it seems like you're going to be able to choose from 4 different characters, or you'll actually be playing these characters at different times in the game. I don't know if you're going to be able to switch over to them on the fly. I just don't think that's the way that this game is going to work. It definitely didn't look like it was any GTA 5 action going on like that. But they also mentioned this game's version of Captain America is described as a young version of Steve Rogers, and the man underneath the Wakandan armor is Azuri, which is the grandfather of the modern era's Black Panther, T'Challa. Now, Marvel 1943 is big. This is what got me hype. It is being developed in Unreal Engine 5. God, dog. Unreal Engine 5, man. Man, I love that engine. It's being developed in Unreal Engine 5. Oh, my gosh. And it also makes use of the facial animation tool MetaHuman Animator to help create more authentic performances. Now, what's more exciting is, according to Amy Hennigs, and this is where it got crazy, the sequences in the first trailer were pulled directly from the game running in real time. Now, Hennig added that her goal has always been to create cinematic and immersive experiences that allow a player to feel like they're in a movie, but with all the player agency expected from a video game. Now, Hennig said, and I quote, "In the past, this has always felt like it was just beyond our grasp. But I think we're finally crossing that threshold. When we're telling a character-driven story, it's critical for us to faithfully capture every nuance of our actors' stellar performances. So we've been incredibly grateful to partner with our friends on the MetaHuman team to tell our story." End of quote. Now, this right here, before I get to the end, they said that this game is going to release in 2025. God! Man. I'm going to tell y'all. When you see this game, matter of fact, God, dog, you know what, man? We got to break protocol here for a second. I want to pull this up because I don't know if y'all saw the trailer or not. I want y'all to at least bare minimum. We're going to listen to it together. I'm going to pull it up right now. Here we go.
They're combing the streets. Searching house to house.
If they arrest you two, they will take you to their headquarters, and you will not return.
I'm more concerned with the 6-foot cat man who's got claws that can cut through vibranium alloy. By my count, that makes 2 super soldiers loose in Paris.
3, counting you.
And that's 2 too many.
I'll be there before the sun rises. Before the Germans, before that American. The Eye of Force has been found.
Please, just stick to the rooftops. Be careful, Stamquasami.
When am I not?
It's better if I tackle this one alone.
You may encounter some obstacles.
That won't be a problem. Our cat friend is definitely here too. By the look of things, he's not very far ahead.
The American boy is right on your heels.
Who the hell are you?
If you wanted us dead, we'd be dead. So what do you want?
Answers.
That's far enough!
Stay out of my way!
Stand aside!
I do not take orders from anyone!
I don't have time for this.
Neither do I.
God, I had to cut it off. Man, oh man. Marvel 1943. God, dog. Man, I saw that trailer. What I was talking about earlier today about a PlayStation 5 Actually, not the PlayStation 5, but the PlayStation 5 Pro coming in, and me at one point in time thinking that the regen refresh, what is it called? The mid-gen refresh was a waste of time. When I looked at Marvel 1943, brothers and sisters, I said, I don't know. This game looks spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. I would so highly recommend that you guys go to the Unreal Engine 5.4 tech demo that Amy Hennigs actually put on. And she went into more detail about this game. Man, this thing is going to push. I'm telling you, this is going to push these consoles. The PlayStation 5, definitely the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 5 Pro, the Xbox Series X. I don't know where the S is going to be when it comes to this. I don't know. I have no idea. But this game right here, the amount of detail in the clothes, the performances, you can actually see their faces, squinting up. I mean, it is just a next level of absolute incredible detail. And I don't think I'm overselling it. I just know this was incredible to see. Excuse me. It was very amazing. I said, this is what next generation is. And Amy Hennig, her track record is fantastic. She has a fantastic track record. We know that she originally had a Star Wars game in the making. It didn't happen. She got taken off that project, but she is on this one. And man, it seems like she is back with a vengeance when it comes to this game right here. It is incredible. She just kept saying time after time during that demo that this is not smoke and mirrors. This is the real thing. We do not cheat. What you see us showing you today is what the game is in real time. And again, phenomenal looking. Absolutely phenomenal. So with a PlayStation 5 Pro, allegedly, it's been confirmed again by Tom Henderson, but we still got to wait for PlayStation to give the word. But if this thing is real, this game right here, this could be a poster child. I'm telling you, this thing looks so darn good. Captain America going up against Black Panther. Man, God, dog, just check the trailer out. It was so good. You can see the claw marks across Captain America's shield. You got two other characters that are involved as well. Oh man, this thing looks so doggone promising. And the fact that it's coming out in 2025, hopefully 2025, is staggering. Absolutely incredible. Definitely check that trailer out. I would love to get you guys' thoughts on it. And if it got you as hyped as it got me. But again, I just want to say, look at the demo that Amy Hennig actually did of the game, and you will understand that it is not smoke and mirrors. You'll be able to see the detail of the world, the snow, the smoke. Just look it up. Just look it up. Amy Hennig, not Black Panther, but Marvel 1943 tech demo, something like that, and you will see that this game has a lot of promise. Anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week, which actually takes us into Video Game Theater. And this week on Video Game Theater, we're going to be taking a look back at November 22nd, 2013, to a great launch title for Xbox One. It was Rise, Son of Rome. And in this clip, we'll be listening in on a scene where the main character, Marius Titus, will be leading his men into a very questionable place under some very unwanted circumstances. So we will be back with the final section of the podcast again after this week's video game theater. Stay tuned, guys.
Your girl.
She is beautiful. Flog her until he talks, or she dies. Whichever comes first.
No! Hold her! How dare you!
How dare you? I am son of the Emperor, and I do whatever I choose.
Please! No! Please! Spare her! I'll tell you everything! Chieftain Commodus was traded to the Horned King in the Northern Lands. Beyond the wall. Please. Release my daughter. I beg of you.
See? There's really only one language these people understand. The language of force.
You will find your chieftain in darkness beyond the wall, where the lowering barren mountains tower over the black, bottomless lochs. Horned men from ancient times roam this land, and of those who venture there, few return.
Very exciting. Commander Battalion, I have a new mission for you. You will lead your men north to the lowering mountains and bring back my brother. Guards, lock up the prisoners.
Ready the men! You heard the commander! Make ready to march!
Centurion, we march north.
Yes, sir.
Rise, son of Rome. Man, one of my favorites, man. One of my favorites. Might not have been the best game ever, but graphically, golly, that was a showpiece right there. Graphically, that game had it. And the gameplay was pretty good. And I thought the story, they could have really built on that story that they told. So I was really excited for Rise 2. Of course, we all know it never happened. Who knows if it will ever happen at this point. But nonetheless, I thought that Rise, Son of Rome was a very, very good launch title when it came to the Xbox One to show off that graphical prowess that you were paying for. But anyway, let's get into the final section of the podcast. And of course, you guys know that is where I ask you guys a question to get your opinion. And I know that you guys have already seen the question already, but let's go over it officially. So, does Xbox need a Series X Pro console? That's the question this week. Now, again, I was always opposed to this. I didn't think it was necessary, not even remotely. You bring out a console, you rock out with that console the whole generation, and you come out with new hardware for the next generation. And I don't want this mid-gen refresh stuff happening. This is pointless. But when I see these games, brothers and sisters, when I see the graphics, the graphics, and just the things that they are doing with the rendering, it does make me wonder, is it necessary? Is it necessary that if PlayStation is going to be coming out with a mid-gen refresh, the PlayStation 5 Pro, does Xbox need to follow suit? Now, we've heard from Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer went out there. That brother capped so hard. He said that the Xbox Series X is the mid-gen refresh. What? Oh, shucks.
This man!
Oh, Phil, he tried it, though. That brother tried it with that one. Man, oh, man. But knowing that Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out, knowing that now, I mean, I'm all jumping on the doggone bandwagon now. Marvel 1943 is also releasing. Man, I got to tell you, I don't know. I think that, and this is the thing. Now to be fair, we gotta look at it from this perspective. Well, at least in my humble opinion, we haven't seen what the Series X is really capable of thus far, because the Series S is hindering it like a mother. It is hindering the progress of what the Series X can do because of this parity clause that is happening. So I am of the mindset that we still don't know what it can do. So if they could cut ties with the Series S and let the X just rock out and do what it does, it may be able to come up with some amazing performances. But then when you compare it to the PlayStation 5 Pro, and we know Digital Foundry is always lurking in the background to bring it full circle, frontal in your face of what the specs are and how they compare to each other. We know that with the PlayStation 5 Pro, this thing is supposed to have 16 or 17 teraflops, which is, golly, just basic math. That's going to be between 4 to 5 teraflops more than the Series X has. Now, the other thing is that we know how greatly optimized games are for the PlayStation 5 already. Just the PlayStation 5. Games are using the power of that console. Whereas when you look over at the Series X, even from third party, they're not fully taking advantage of the hardware. Again, we can always say it's because it's being handicapped from the Series S. But the thing is, it's the optimization. I don't believe that not the PlayStation, but the Series X is going to be able to get by. I just don't think so. When you have big games like Grand Theft Auto 6 releasing and you say that it runs better on this console, I mean, we saw a smaller effect of that when it came to not the Series X, but the Xbox One X. When that released, and Red Dead Redemption 2 was actually running much better on that console versus the PlayStation 4 Pro or the PlayStation 4 for that matter. Excuse me. It actually got people to go out and pick up a Xbox One X because of that. Now imagine that with Grand Theft Auto, which is a way bigger name than Red Dead Redemption. Imagine how many people are going to go out there and buy that console based off of what the performance is when it comes to Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, granted, it's not going to be a big market. We understand that these mid-gens are not for the masses. We know that they're for the hardcore. So it's still going to be a limited amount of them that are going to sell no matter what. But just having that goodwill on your record that you're running this particular game better than your competition, that will go at least a little bit of a ways to bring good, I would say, again, it would bring really good, it would be very positive news, to put it in so many terms. It'd just be very positive news for your brand if you had that. So I think that they need to do it, man. I think so. I think they do. I mean, you don't want to give PlayStation even more of an advantage over what you got going on. But then again, it's about the games at the end of the day. So if you have those on your platform, and Xbox is definitely, they're coming up the ranks with that. They got 10 of them, I believe they'll be showing off this year, which is great. But just for the sake of how these games are coming out, man, I think you're going to need it. I think so. But that's my question to you guys again. Does Xbox need a Series X Pro console? I would love to hear from you guys. If you guys do want to be a part of the next listener feedback, you can do it two different ways to be a part of this conversation. You can either call in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show. And the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I want to say again, thank you guys for being here. Truly, truly appreciated it. So my schedule is a little different these days. I used to record on Sunday. Haven't been able to do that for a while. I was going to say we'll be back at it Sunday, but I cannot be too sure. So I'll say this before we wrap it up and put the bow on it. Before we finish up, it may be that I'll be recording again on Wednesday. It's possible the episode will come out on Wednesday like it is today. And Sundays might be missing for a little bit of time until I can get things back on track. But anyway, with that being said, before we officially wrap it up and put that bow on it, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So I will say again, probably not Sunday, but definitely, if not Sunday, Wednesday, we'll be back at it again. But until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.